Walk with me.
Praise ye the I Am. Blessed is the man that feareth the I Am, that delighteth greatly in his commandments. His seed shall be mighty upon the earth. The generation of the upright shall be blessed. Wealth and riches shall be in his house, and his righteousness endureth forever. Unto the upright there arises light in the darkness. He is gracious and full of compassion and righteous. A good man showeth favor and lendeth, and he will guide his affairs with discretion. Surely he shall not be moved forever. The righteous shall be in everlasting remembrance. He shall not be afraid in evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the I Am. His heart is established, and he shall not be afraid until he see his desire upon his enemies. He hath dispersed, he hath given to the poor. His righteousness endureth forever. His horn shall be exalted with honor. The wicked shall see it and be grieved, and he shall gnash with his teeth and melt away. The desire of the wicked shall perish. Psalms chapter 112. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me in my seat forever, that we go not astray henceforth and forever. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20, a prayer of Abram. Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Those of you on this platform and those shared platforms, I'm Mr. Clay, and you're walking with Mr. Clay. Yes, and we thank God for you. Yes, and also with a hand clap of praise, we thank God for those of you that have been with us since the beginning, and those of you that have been here and there's about, and we thank God for those of you who have just subscribed and followed. Yes, we do, and we thank God for those of you who are about to subscribe and follow, calling those things that are not as though they are. All praises to the Most High, He who created all things. Yes, I'll take you there. It's the rendition here. And we thank God for you. Yes. We are giving God all praise and glory for all that He's done. Yeah, we're still in the book of Jasher. We're still in the book of Jasher. And we just got out about Achan in the camp. Someone that is really, that was very selfish and not thinking, not even, see, this is what we call lack of confidence in God. You don't believe what He's saying. In other words, our sin, not only just you and I, everyone, we don't believe God. See, a person that believes a person and what they do, they're going to fear to do a thing. They're going to fear. See, in this case, most of the people feared what God would do to them. So they did not even, they didn't even do the things that God says don't do. They didn't do it. They said, But Achan, he had to do these things. And thus he had to sit up there and he had to pay for it with his life. He had to pay for it with his life. Now we come to the point where O'Shea. Now you say, well, how you call him O'Shea? You haven't been reading your Bible, have you? You don't remember it. You might have read this part, but you don't remember it, do you? I don't think so. I don't think you remember it at all. See, O'Shea is something that, let me pull this thing up a little bit so I can read it. But anyway, O'Shea is in Numbers, chapter 13 and verse 16. Shall I read it for you? Numbers chapter 13 and verse 16. And ever since they had you can realize when the time this was written or translated. It wasn't translated during the time of Moses. No, it was written, but it was translated at the time of the Council of Nicaea or whatever after who they say this Isis was. We said chapter 13 and verse 16, right? Isn't that what we said? Now, let me give you my receipt here. And these are the names of the men which Moses sent to spy out the land. Moses called O'Shea, Oshea, the son of Nun, Yehoshua. And you call your Isis Yahashua or Yehoshua. or Yehoshua, he called him Jehoshua. Come on here. It wasn't even nowhere near that. Nowhere near it at all. Let me take off this thing. We got to talk here. Nowhere near what you say his name was. O'Shea. They don't want you to know this. Shh, be quiet. Numbers chapter 13 and 16. Write it down, record it, whatever you want to do. Mark it, whatever you want to do. That you might stand and have this receipt. That from hence and therefore his name was O'Shea. It wasn't Yehoshua. Because that is a lie. There was no J then. Now, yeah. Got a little grease in my hair, kind of laid back to the side. But either way, whatever. That's the old school stuff. But anyway, now, it's called water and grease. But anyway, O'Shea. Now we get into the AI. Now, in verse 38, the I am said to Joshua or O'Shea, just to help you understand who I'm talking about. Fear not, be thou dismayed, for I have given into thy hand Ai, her king and her people, and thou shalt do unto them as thou didst to Jericho, and her king only the spoil thereof, and the cattle thereof shall you take for a prey for yourselves. Lay an ambush for the city behind it. This is God telling them how to do it. Not only did they do it, in some form or another, Hannibal did the same thing, but he did it in a different way. Not only did Hannibal probably read the Bible, but Hannibal also took foxes and burnt their tails and sent fire through the crops and burnt up the Roman crops. If you ever wrote the story of Hannibal. Now it says now, so Joshua did according to the word of the I am, and he chose from amongst the sons of war 30,000 valiant men, and he sent them, and they lay in ambush for the city. In other words, they gonna lay back. But then here comes the kicker. He said, and he commanded them, saying, when you shall see us, we will flee before them with cunning, and they will pursue us. And you shall then rise out of the ambush and take the city. And they did so. In other words, they came from a flank. They came from a quiet place. Nobody said nothing. And they hid. And he says, when you shall see us, when you see us coming up, you go first and you're going to hide. You're going to go where nobody can see you. They had to spy out AI before they can figure out how they get out of their sights. And so here comes Joshua and them. They come to the front. And Joshua fought. And the men of the city went out toward Israel, not knowing that they were laying an ambush for them behind the city. And Joshua and all Israel and Israelites feigned themselves, wearied out before them. You know, they faked it. And they fled by the way of the wilderness with cunning. AI saying, we got him, man. Now here you go. And the men of AI gathered all the people who were in the city to pursue the Israelites. They went out and were drawn away from the city, and not one remained, and they left the city and opened and pursued the Israelites. In other words, they did not have no protection, no guard, no nothing on the city. Maybe a few, who knows, a little bit, but it still would amount to nothing. And those who were laying in ambush rose up out of their places after they saw the men going, yay, with their swords and spears and all this other stuff and armament. Verse 44, and those who were laying in ambush rose up out of their places and hastened to come to the city and took it and set it on fire. And the men of Ai turned back, and behold, the smoke of the city ascended to the skies, and they had no means of retreating either one way or the other. In other words, we go back to the city, they gonna get us. If we go forward, they done turned around, they're coming back at us, so what are we gonna do? And all the men of Ai were in the midst of Israel, some of this side and that side. Have you ever played Chinese circles? Well, you have to sort of, it's like chess, but you have to sort of encircle your opponent. This was somewhat of the way that how the Zulu had maneuvered themselves to surprise those British people that came and tried to take the land. Yes. Zulu used it. They would say they were like ghosts. They appeared out of nowhere, but it wasn't. They knew how to maneuver themselves. Those of you who are Zulu who are listening to this or viewing this, you can attest to this if you know your history. Some of you don't know your head from the hole in the ground because you haven't studied or neither asked your elders. But yet, your enemy know more about you than you know about them. Now, and all the men of Ai were in the midst of Israel, and some of on this side and some of that side, and they smote them so that not one of them remained. And the children of Israel took Milosh, king of Ai, alive, and they brought him to Joshua, or Oshe. And Oshe hanged him on a tree, and he died. Oh, Oshe he should have been like Jesus, just turn the cheek. Are you serious? God was not like that then, and he's not like that today. You've been brainwashed. Love your enemies. Pray for them to despitefully smack you, whip you, beat you, and say you need love. As the Marine Corps say, they're going to beat you with their leather glove and chains all night. You must love to feel that leather bite. Nah, God said, hate your enemies. That's what he said. Because God hates his enemies even to this day. Follow God as dear children is one true saying in the New Testament. You've lost it. You're brainwashed. Your heart has been singed. This is the account of everyone walking out of his gender or her gender that's in these churches and brought down, and there's one on every corner, and you think that you're going to heaven. You're going to hell. To put it plainly. Now, let's continue. Now, and the number of those that had fallen men of Ai, both man and woman, was 12,000, and only the cattle and the spoil of the city. Oh, they killed women. Oh my, give me some lipstick. But anyway, but the fact is that there ain't no pansies here. Why are you afraid? Deuteronomy chapter 28. You had a faint heart. You decided you want to go your way. Girls want to start dunking their butts up and doing their little twerks and all this other stuff, and men wearing their pants on the ground saying, I'm available to the next one that walks out of his gender. And then you got all those and then think they're tough, raised by your mama, who taught you how to be a female with all the emotions and anger that these females carry, instead of you being with a father where you're disciplined to know how to hold your peace in certain situations and lash out in others. Come on here, Jacob, what are you doing? You need to get somewhere where you can learn how to be a true man, especially a man that walks behind God. God don't walk with you. God don't walk behind you. God walks in front of you. He don't walk. God is in front of you. That's his statutes, commandments, ordinances, and laws. Yes. You keep them forever before your eyes. This is why he told the Israelites about that little box. Them crazy Ashkenazi Israelites sit up there and put in front of their heads, whatever. They wear a box in front of their heads thinking they're going to, it's paganism. I'm telling you, a lot of things in the Old Testament they have also infiltrated also, especially the 66 books written by the Greeks. Even your Tanakh ain't even what it's called. The best book you can ever get is most likely, they say the King James. Yes, that's cool. But if you don't know the Word of God, if you don't understand it, best just go with the Ethiopian Coptic Bible. It has its quirks. It's been messed up too. But God gives us breadcrumbs. We have to learn how to chase God if we really want to be redeemed at the time God comes with 10,000 of his anointed. We have with thousands and tens of thousands of his anointed. Didn't give no number. Didn't say no 144,000. Where the heck they got that from? And you've been messed up. And then he's going to say he's God. And then he's going to say he's Isis. Then he's going to say all this other mess in the book of Revelation. They done already took away from it and added to it. Why in the world it ain't going to do you no good? Come on here. Let us continue, my dear friend. But anyway, In verse 48, and the number of those that had fallen of the men of Ai, both man and woman, was 12,000. Only the cattle and the spoil of the city they took to themselves, according to the word of the I am to Oshay, aka Joshua, as you know him by what they call it, transliteration. Transliteration, that's what we call it. And all the kings on this side of Jordan, all the kings of Canaan, heard of the evil which the children of Israel had done to Jericho. There was no J then. There's no Jericho. Maybe a G, but there was no Jericho. It was the Jericho. And to Ai, and they gathered themselves together. This is why you cannot find a lot of the things that you're looking for, a lot of the lands that you're looking for on the map. They've changed it. They changed your name. When you came over here, Kunta Kinte, they said your name Toby, boy. That's what that shows ownership. I named you. It's like your father named you. I'm your father. And it says all the kings on this side of Jordan, all the kings of Canaan, heard of the evil which the children of Israel had done to Jericho and to Ai. And they gathered themselves together to fight against Israel. Remember, I just am not pronouncing the J. And only the inhabitants of Gibeon were greatly afraid of the fighting against the Israelites, lest they should perish. So they acted cunningly, and they came to Oshay and to all Israel, and said unto them, we have come from a distant land. Now therefore make a covenant with us. Remember that Oshay, you'll find his name in Numbers chapter 13 and verse 16. Now, and he says, therefore make a covenant with us, and the inhabitants of Gibeon overreach the children of Israel. And the children of Israel made a covenant with them, and they made peace with them, although God told them not to. God had mercy upon them in this area here. And the princes of the congregation swore unto them, but afterwards the children of Israel knew that they were neighbors to them and were dwelling amongst them. They had been deceived because they knew the children of Israel, when they made an oath, they had to keep it. And the same thing with you. Don't make an oath. See, Christianity going to tell you one thing, but don't make an oath. Either by contract. If you're going to make an oath, make sure you've investigated it very thoroughly, child of Jacob. If you know you're a child of Jacob. I'm not talking about to the Ashkenazis. I'm talking to Israel. I'm not talking to the Zionists. I'm not talking to none of them. I'm talking to the children of Jacob. Know what you're doing. Because many of us made mistakes in the past in signing things that we knew we couldn't do. Even make an oath before the Most High that we knew we couldn't do. Some of you who joined the military know you don't even believe in the government. See, because you want a buck, you want $1. Even in the military, you got women up here twerking and doing all kind of stupid stuff. I like, oh my. Do you know your enemy ain't playing with you? Even those of you who call yourself in this U.S. Armed Forces, they're not playing with you. Women, if you get caught, you will be raped until you die. Men, tormented until you die. They're not playing. They're like a lion that take a gazelle and turn him every which way but loose. And he's saying, leave me alone, leave me alone. Ain't no leave me alone to it. There's the only thing that you can do for any military person is delete them because they're under oath. That's it. That's all. Or a person of a terrorist group or whatever, you can only delete them because they're under a certain oath to whatever regime or whatever cause they have taken up arms for. That's it. You cannot have mercy. Nothing. They're under an oath to the person that hates you. But either way, let's continue. And Israel knew that they were neighbors to them that were dwelling amongst them. Verse 52. But the children of Israel slew them not, for they had sworn unto them by the I am. And they knew this. See, your enemy know you better than you do, Israel, not the Ashkenazi or the Zionists or whoever you are, whatever. Go, little boy, go somewhere. You got bombs, yeah, you got all that stuff, but still, you're no match to our God. And they became hewers of wood and drawers of water. And Oshay said unto them, why did you deceive me to do this thing to us? And they answered him, saying, because it was told to thy servants all you had done to all the kings of the Amorites, that we were greatly afraid of our lives, and we did this thing. And so Oshay appointed them on that day to hew wood and to draw water. And he divided them for slaves into all the tribes of Israel. And then Adonizedek, that's not the same Adonizedek that's mentioned earlier, which is Melchizedek, which is Shem, according to the early chapters of this book. King of Jerusalem, now he was king of Salem, heard all that the children of Israel had done to Jericho and to Ai, and he sent to Oham, king of Hebron, to Piram, king of Jarmuth, and to Aphia, Aphia, or it could, Aphia, king of Lachish. Now these were Shemites, really. Lachish people, Shemites, or either Canaanites, one of the two. And to Deborah, king of Eglon, saying, come up to me and help me, that we might smite the children of Israel and the inhabitants of Gibeon, who have made peace with the children of Israel. Lachish, yes, Canaanites. This is the same people where they took to show that the children of Israel, the battle of the battle of Lachish is where Anubantu and Gordon Miller, in their book called The Hebrews, History of the Hebrews and Arabs. That was volume 1. And then volume 2 shows a contrast between of how they proved that in that Lachish battle, the skulls of the Lachish people, they took to show that they took it of the other people. I'm talking about the Israelites. They took it of those people and to show the contrast between those of Israel and those of, should I say, European or Caucasus Mountains descent, because they didn't come from Europe. You can argue with that all day. No, it's not that the black man don't know where he come from. The ones that enslave you don't know where the heck they come from. All they know is where their ancestors were born and called their names after that. And took the names of those that were in power at that time. Because of Deuteronomy chapter 28. Hidden Hebrews. That's one good thing that God had done. He hid Jacob within the dark nations. Jacob is hidden. That's why you don't know who you are. Now, and they gathered themselves together, and the 5 kings of the Amorites went up with all their camps, a mighty people, numerous as the sand of the sea. And all these kings came up and camped before Gibeon, and they began to fight against the inhabitants of Gibeon. And all the men of Gibeon sent to Oshay, a.k.a. Joshua, saying, come up quickly to us and help us, for all the kings of the Amorites have gathered themselves to fight against us. And Oshay and all the fighting people went up from Gilgal, and Oshay came, a.k.a. Joshua, suddenly to them and smote these 5 kings with a great slaughter. And the Iam confounded them before the children at Israel. He confused them before the children at Israel, and smote them with a terrible slaughter in Gibeon, and pursued them along the way that goes up to Beth Horon unto Makkedah. And they fled from before the children of Israel, and whilst they were fleeing, the Iam sent upon them hailstones from heaven. Said, you gonna flee from my people? Pow! Right upon the head. No, it ain't funny, because people died. But the fact is they did not respect those who God have chosen. And that they didn't even remember that Canaan took the land that was not of his lot. This was the reason for that. It ain't because the United States and Europe sit up there and gave him a land in 1948. It ain't got nothing to do with that. You're wrong. Or you took over from those who were down in Medina and all those other places, and you were the servants of those, and they were, and now you call them the hood. You're wrong. You're going through it too. God, you see, some of you don't even see what's going on here. God is causing two people to battle each other that doesn't belong in the land. Oh, my. Some of them know it. Many of them delude themselves. While fleeing, I am sent hailstones upon them, and more of them died by the hailstones, by the slaughter, and then by the slaughter of the children of Israel. No, God fought the battle. God fought the battle. He don't need you. He wants you to be his witness for your praise and for your adoration, that he is your protector. He's your provider. He's your all in all. This is what God wants to do. You ain't got to act like Jesus that they try to portray. This little effeminate guy marching up and down the streets talking about, oh, love your neighbor, love your enemy, turn the other cheek, and all this other garbage. You don't have to do all that stuff. God don't change. No, he don't. And the children of Israel pursued them. See, many people judge Israel by Christianity. Christianity is not Israel. They borrowed from Israel. They stole from Israel. And many of you are caught up in it because they got you. And you can't get loose. Only way you can get loose is you accept the commandments, statutes, ordinances, and flee those things which Christianity have deemed up and caused. Learn the laws, commandments, statutes, and ordinances of the Most High. No, you can't do them all. But the fact is, you can do what you can in your present situation, as those did that were in captivity before you. Yes. And the children of Israel pursued them, and they still smote them in the road going on and smiting them. No, they just all left and right. But they wasn't fearful. They wasn't weak of heart. They wasn't smeared with so many horror stories and showing blood and guts and all kind of gory things on television to make them fear. Whereas your enemy takes you and makes you hang in a tree and cut your heads off and plant them all over the place. But this, you cannot do this. You cannot do this, they say. What is more, your life or your dignity? Your respect or your cowardice? If you have to die for respect, you know who's going to inherit that? Your children. Your children are going to see that, and they're going to fight fiercely in the same stead, and they're not going to just be caught like a lamb in the midst. See, this is one thing about a lamb. A lamb is a coward. A lamb ain't nothing. You can take a lamb and slaughter him, he ain't gonna do nothing but run. A little Aussie dog go out and get him and wound him up. This is what they do. Didn't you know Willie Lynch even watched the Aussie dog, how he dealt with the lamb in some of his doctrines that he wrote? Now, and when they were smiting that day, the day was declining toward the evening, and Joshua said in the sight of all the people, "Sun, stand still upon Gibeon." Now he spoke. He didn't just smite the rock. He didn't smite the sun. He spoke to the sun. This is what God had put in his heart, to speak. The same thing that you, in any situation, do you have when it wails up in your house or in your mouth or in your brain that you're caught between a rock and a hard place, and your heart says, "Speak!" And you speak to that situation, or you speak to that thing that's coming at you. You speak to your enemy. Don't you know God will move? I ain't talking about no name or no Easter, just speak. Because it's in you already. You are a child of King if you've been keeping his statutes, commandments, ordinances, and laws. Yes, you. He sees you. Matter of fact, the angels are encamped around you, who are heirs that God will save in the end time from this enemy that we have to face every day, on the job, in the job, wherever we go, whether it be spirit or he's working through flesh. Now, to sum it all up. And when they were smiting, the day was declining. toward the evening, and Joshua said, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Alon. It's not Ajalon, it's Alon. Agalon or Alon, no J was there. Until the nation have revenged itself upon its enemy. And the I am hearken to the voice of Joshua. God will hearken to your voice. You don't have to call in no name of nobody. Just say it. You've been taught this and it's dwelt in your head and they laughing at you behind. Look at that fool. Boy of color. In the name of what? You might well go and say the name of the guy, the KKK, if you want to, because that's who Jesus is with. You don't need no name. All you need is a life that you live with God. That's it. You don't need no name at all. Speak. That was the last thing God told Moses. Speak to the rock. Because he didn't believe God and he was caught up in his feelings. He could not speak. And it counseled him out of going into the land of Canaan. Didn't take away his time with God because he was the friend of God. As it said at that time. And the sun stood still in the midst of the heavens, and it stood still 6 and 30 moments, or 36 hours. That's over 24 hours. Moments or days or whatever it would say. However, this English is translating. And the moon also stood still and hastened not to go down a whole day. And there was no day like that before it, after it. And the I am hearkened to the voice of a man, for the I am fought for Israel. Now he would have hearkened to the voice of Moses. If Moses would have spoke. But he hearkened because of his compassion upon the children of Jacob. That's what it was. We're finished with this chapter. And we're going to go to chapter 89. But speak is your power. When you speak to God, when you speak him, give me power of my enemies. Show me what to do. How shall I defeat my enemies? How shall we go? What tact shall we use? Or how shall you go about this? Do you want us to move? Do you want us to sit still? What do you want us to do? Show us, O most holy, even thou, Yahweh, Yahuwah, Tatan Zambi. Yes, Sanini Nanini, show us. There is no New Testament. That's all borrowed. Everything you find in the New Testament, you're going to find in the Old. You don't need it. God is not sadistic in that he uses the blood of men to cleanse men from sin. That's not what he uses. He uses the innocent blood of animals because there's nobody clean under the sun. And then why would he use a man, use heathen to sacrifice a righteous man or a man who is clean, to sacrifice him and hang him on a tree? Lies. This is not the character of God. And they dream of all. If you just take and read the Old Testament and study it vehemently, read the Old New Testament too, so that you might get a good, clear understanding that that is not God. None of it is. It's a good brainwashing. Yes, it is. It's a very good brainwashing, but that is not God. And with all that, we're going to say peace.
Walk with me.